You've tuned in to chipsgrooveradio with your hosts, Mike and John.
So are you excited about GTA 6?
I am. It's about time. Let me just put it that way because...
I mean, yeah.
Wow.
How long has that been in development?
Let's see. GTA 5 has been on 3 console releases. So it started on fucking... Was it 360 or Xbox One? It was Xbox One, I think.
Oh, man. I don't know. GTA 5? Was it? Must have been Xbox One.
It has.
I don't think it was 360. That's too old.
Yeah, that's too old. But... Jesus Christ, it's been so long. And that I love how every time they did an announcement, everyone's like, oh, here it comes. No.
Mm-hmm.
I think my favorite was when they were debuting the PlayStation 5, the release date trailer when they were going to take pre-orders. And one of the opening videos is like a new GTA. But no, it's 5 again.
Yeah.
Just looks prettier.
Yeah, it just looks a little bit better.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I played through. I rail, and I think you and I kind of rail against the open world concept games.
Mm-hmm.
But to some extent, games like GTA 5, Saints Row, those games for some reason I finish, and I don't know what the difference between those games and like a Zelda game that I can't finish, or I don't know, other role playing games that are a bit more open worldy that I can't seem to grab onto.
The only thing I could think of just in that example is you have the ability to play both sides, at least in Grand Theft Auto. You can't really do that in Zelda. So I could see that being a drawback in like, it's not quite as much to do as, say, GTA 5, where you can do whatever you want and kill whoever you want or be as bad or as good a person as you want to be.
Right. And I think the really interesting thing that GTA 5 did was the introduction of multiple characters in the actual story, and being able to play both characters and give you the chance to be a bit of a psycho when it was what's his face? I forget the guy's name. For the Hick, basically. You get to be a bit of a psycho for his missions, and then be more of a cold-hearted like killer mafioso with Michael's mission. So it was a cool concept, and I think I finished GTA 5, and I think I finished GTA 4 as well.
Nice.
Which are really surprising. I just like it's my own criticisms fall flat on a game that obviously is open world. Obviously, it's do what you want, but I think they also have really compelling core stories. I think that's another part of those games, is that you can do these side missions that are interesting and kind of like what they have their little vignettes of stories, but then you can always come back to the core story and kind of progress through that, and it feels pretty complete.
Yeah. It's very easy in games like that to get sidetracked for me, but what I've kind of found myself falling back on is doing side quests, but then making sure I come back to the story. So I'll do a couple and I'll go back, and I'll do a couple and I'll come back, because I'm so guilty of just getting lost in all the side stuff and forgetting completely the story. And so when I get back to it, it's like, what was going on again? Why is the world upset?
I think one of the things that the game we're talking about did so well, Cyberpunk 2077, was that the main quest, it always felt like there was other, like even side quests at times also fed into that main quest.
Okay.
And you always felt like you were progressing towards something, some inevitable end, whatever that is. And there was some choice in the game. It wasn't like complete like Baldur's Gate 3, like you get to choose whatever you want to do, but the way that you played the game could be different between a netrunner or a sneaky guy or a brawler or whatever. There was a pretty vast gameplay loop difference between those play styles. And then the missions themselves, like they were always compelling. Even the side quests were really compelling stories that made you feel empathy for the characters that were in those predicaments. Because usually there wasn't a good or bad answer. There was always kind of a gray answer that you kind of had to judge against. Yeah.
Do you feel the characters make... How many times have you played through it?
I haven't finished it. I'm near the end, but it's my
okay.
Time. But I'm about 70 hours into it.
Nice. So would you say, just based on what you have played, would you say that picking a different character each time would vastly change the game? Or is it's obviously, I would imagine, different sides of the same story, kind of?
Yeah. I think the game style, the gameplay loop that you play, because you really only play one character. You're just playing V, either male or female, but you're the same character. It's just
who you align with.
And like your skill tree also matters. Because one of the criticisms of Cyberpunk, I think, is that some of the things you do in the open world don't necessarily matter as much to how people react to you. So like there's a lot of different gangs and stuff, and you can like attack them or like stop a crime. And it's not like they really change their attitude towards you at all. That doesn't really get affected. So to some extent, like someone put it pretty well, where it's games like Baldur's Gate 3 have a lot of choices. It's more of a role-playing game than anything else, whereas Cyberpunk is like a action movie that you're living through. You know?
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing.
From what I've seen of the game, it is very accurate. That's an accurate description. Just an action movie. Because while I was listening to the soundtrack, it's all these 90s movies, these action futuristic movies were flashing in my head. It's like, wow. I can see the influence here for this game, and that seems very appropriate.
Yeah, and I think it's done really well in that it involves you as a player, and you kind of live through it. So it's not just like you're watching a movie; it's that you're inside of a movie. And some of the I had a really weird revelation like late in the game where I was like looking through my contacts list, like, you know, in GTA you have your contacts list, you can call them or whatever. I was looking through my contacts list and I'm like, oh, they're dead, they died in the mission, they're dead, they're gone, they left. Like all of these tragic stories that I lived through as this character, and just it just kind of made it all feel so much more real. Like you've already been through all these tragedies, and like the world of Cyberpunk is all about that dystopian feeling of hopelessness. Like you are fighting the machine, you're fighting the corporations, you're fighting for your life, and everybody is against you. Yeah, and most people die a tragic death.
Yeah, the capitalism aspect of this game is very disheartening, because I feel like we're headed that way. Yeah, you know, of all the futures we've grown up with on Hollywood movies and TV shows, this is the one we're closest to, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. I think when people read the first like Neuromancer book and all the original Cyberpunk, it wasn't supposed to be a instruction manual. Right. It was supposed to be a warning.
No. We're gonna see how this pans out.
Yeah, a couple megacorps.
Yep. Here we go.
But you talk about the soundtrack, and it's a doozy. It was composed, the original, like the soundtrack itself, in-game soundtrack was composed by 3 composers, 2 Polish, and I forget the other one, where the other one's from, but Marcin Sibiewicz, P.T. Adamczyk, and Paul Leonard Morgan all composed various songs on the actual soundtrack. The in-game band that Johnny Silverhands is a part of, that Keanu Reeves voices, is Samurai, which is actually a Swedish hardcore punk band called Refused. So they made a bunch of songs. And then there's a bunch of other tracks from just other artists that are used as radio songs for when you're either in the car or just walking down the street. You can listen to them. It includes like Run the Jewels and Grimes. Grimes is actually a character in the game, and she has like an in-game performance. I wish that Run the Jewels were characters in the game and not Grimes, because her voice acting is pretty poor, but you know, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
So it's like this there's 4 of those discs of just radio songs from random people that are all like that cyberpunk 90s rock metal, very loud, very in your face songs. Most, especially the radio songs, are very in your face.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think the soundtrack, especially, well, I don't know if we should take the cat out of the bag or not, but I listened to the radio soundtrack when preparing for this mostly. I did listen to some of the actual score. But I would say the radio tracks by themselves, they do a great job of capturing the game's grittiness. I think there's a lot of tracks that are electronic in nature, obviously, with steady and repetitive beats, but the attitude throughout the songs from these actual artists really permeates the album. It's like these artists were read in on the script and read in on the game, and they all produce these songs that they have a definite similar edge line or through line of edginess. I would say there's an attitude about all the tracks that I thought was really constant.
Yeah, the noise of them, the kind of punk nature, whether it's electronica punk or it's more hardcore, rock punk, or just Run the Jewels, which is they're a rap group that do a lot of political style raps, and they're very hardcore rap. Albums. I love Run the Jewels. I've seen them live. I didn't even know they had a song in the game until we were doing this soundtrack, and they have a music video. So it's like
nice.
They were obviously built in. They were cued into the game and knew what it was about, and I'm sure the themes are very familiar to what they usually rap about. So it was an easy plug-in.
Absolutely. One thing that struck me was that the songs don't feel like moments. They definitely feel like a soundtrack to an actual city. This is what you hear when you're walking around Night City, and I like that because it's not so much about an instance of emotional turmoil or something like that, but these songs were very world building, just in a way that captures what Night City is. This is the future, and things are dirty, they're sexy, they're dangerous. It's pretty cutthroat, and there's a world full of crime. But yeah, Cyberpunk 2077 is a very unique place, I'll say, and I think these songs really capture that.
Yeah, I mean, you have a game like we said, talking about GTA 5, where that had a radio, but it was also that was a bit more real world radio.
Exactly.
Like, you could hear yourself flipping through radio channels, and it would make sense in GTA 5. Whereas in Night City, if you're listening to the radio in Night City, that doesn't sound like any radio station or any radio that you would ever listen to in the real world. And I think it's part of it by design. This city is just a gritty, ultra-capitalist, but people are trying to fit their way through that, that lifestyle, that ultra-capitalism on the edge of corporate wars and espionage and mercenary life. And they come out with punk. I mean, the epitome of anti-capitalist rock is punk,
Absolutely. You feel that this is what the citizens have been pushed to. This is that underbelly of these corporations going to war with each other and becoming this entity that governs the world, it seems like. And these people are rebelling in the ways that they can, but it's turned into a very grim life for the majority of the citizens. So that punk atmosphere is very present.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of a game that has a similar style of music to this, and it's not really.
It's not easy. No, that's a tall order, I think,
because it would have to be something in the same kind of genre of cyberpunk, and realistically, there hasn't been a ton. I mean, System Shock, but that was a more electronica style as opposed to, and more like creepy dystopian as opposed to the more in your face capitalist dystopia that cyberpunk is.
Absolutely. There are occasional tracks, at least on the radio side, that I really took to, but one of them, Whereas the soundtrack is mostly punk and grittiness, like we were talking about, there are a few songs that I came across that do tone it down a bit to feel, like I said earlier, this sounds like a soundtrack to the world. This one feels like it would be out of place during a fight or something, but with that slower pace is the hint of danger that's really ever present in the world. It's not a relaxing breath of fresh air. It's more like a warning of your surroundings, just a few less BPM. And I'm thinking of Night City by REL and Artemis Delta. It really stood out to me. It's an incredibly mood-setting track simply because it takes a minimalist approach to Night City.
Yeah.
One would figure such a chaotic place would have this more intense and punchy theme song. While it's not necessarily a theme song, the title makes me think that.
Yeah, right.
It guides us through the city in an immersive and gentle way while keeping that danger very present, almost acting as a cautionary tale. So I thought it was a beautiful song. The artist sings with great passion and with clever and powerful timing. They pitch bend her vocals at times for great impact. So
yeah, you have a bit of that kind of insidious undertone, especially when it begins. It has those minor tones, and yeah, it's a great kind of slow down track, but it's very intentional in how it plays out. Yeah, definitely a great undercurrent song for when you're. It's kind of the cruise beat when you're going down Night City, and you want to just chill.
I just thought it was so different and refreshing. I said, it's not like a breath of fresh air because the lyrics really make me feel like it's a warning of your surroundings. But I just really enjoyed the change of pace, and it really brought a different attitude to this album.
Yeah, it's tough. There's a lot of tracks even in the actual soundtrack.
Absolutely.
Where they're very in your face electronica, kind of that dystopian rock, gritty rock. There are some songs that are slowed down for the dramatic moments when you're in the mission or whatever. But like one that really kind of comes to my mind is Scavengers, which I think goes by the Russian name in Spotify. What is it? It's Morozhsky. I don't know. It's it's by PT. It's composed by PT Adamchek, and it's just a very gritty, action-oriented track that has this very discordant tone kind of driving through, and it really gives you the sense that there's these like electrical waves that are just flowing in and out of your cyberware and messing you up.
Yeah.
And, it has this like deep bass line that kind of drives you down, and it's just a really solid kind of almost wall of noise song for or action part of the game.
Absolutely. Like it's fucking with your neuro implants.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of the songs have that kind of trick to it where it feels like if you were to listen to these with headphones, like really nice headphones, blasting, you might get the sense of like your head buzzing with electricity, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I felt with the score side of things, where it's very electronic. Obviously, that's a given. Yeah. That's to be expected. But they have this quality to them that it's still a dirty place. This world is just very chaotic, and I think that's an important through line for the entire album on both sides. And I think that's definitely captures that. Just about the game itself, which side did you play with? Which corporation or which faction?
So you don't really pick a faction. So my character that I picked, the original story was I went with the corporal route where I started as a Arasaka, like counter intel, whatever, and then but quickly you get kicked out. You get like blamed for something. You get thrown under the rug, and or thrown in front of the bus, and then you get into jobs with your friend. You have a friend, Jackie Wells. He's a merc, and you've known him, and he kind of brings you along for jobs.
Okay.
But yeah, the main story is that Johnny Silverhands, his personality gets implanted inside of your brain and is slowly eating away your brain and taking over as a form of. I mean, the idea is that this technology is meant for the ultra rich to live forever. Yep. So they back up their consciousness, and if they die, their consciousness will take over another body. They'll have like a clone body or some person's body that'll take over, and then they'll be alive again. Those bastards.
We're just meat sacks to them.
That's right. So a lot of the there are moments where you're playing through as Johnny, which is kind of cool. You get your HUD changes color, so it kind of really reorients you to the Johnny perspective. He's a real dirtbag rocker boy that he's like the worst person ever. He's very selfish but it's a great like maybe kind of a devil on your shoulder.
Yeah, you
kind of use what he says with a grain of salt and kind of. Whatever you try to like listen to what he says. He has some wisdom, but it's really bad wisdom.
So you feel your decisions are being impacted by whatever he has to say, and you're either becoming one with him or you're keeping your individuality, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, and I think part of the I don't know how much of, because I've only played it once. I don't know how much of a choice there is in terms of like resisting his attempts to kind of befriend you or go full hog and just be friends with him and do what he says and yada yada. I don't know how much there is a difference in terms of gameplay there is, but if the real thing is, it feels like there's some impact, even if there isn't an impact. It feels like there is, which is always kind of the mark of good writing.
Right. You don't 100% have the answers every time.
Right. And yeah, there's a lot of like everything you do, all the decisions you make for there are some characters that you could either be enemies with or be friends with, and the things that you choose and the choices you make can change that. So,
wow.
And it kind of goes down that line of looking at your contact list at the end of the game and just kind of going through the memories of the people that you've impacted in this game and kind of what that means, who's died and who's no longer your friend, who you betrayed. I just finished the Phantom Liberty DLC, which, that was amazing because it's basically a spy thriller, and you get to, Idris Elba, and he voices a character, and, you get to hang out with Idris Elba. It's pretty great.
That's awesome.
But the music in that is really good, and the story there is all about treachery and everybody backstabbing everybody else. And it's just kind of the theme of the whole game is just this never-ending grinder, and that's what I think the soundtrack does a good job of. Yeah, it's a never-ending grinder.
And there are plenty of tracks to keep that momentum up and the tension of this world going. One that jumps out to me is "Run" by Stephen Richard Davis and the Kings of Collapse. There's a very electric and powerful instrumental that has this pulsing beat accompanying, I want to say bass notes, but it's definitely electronic keyboard. And at the end of the measures comes this very ominous and haunting horn to kind of cascade over the song and echo into the night like this passing semi-truck. What I really like about this song is that momentum is ever present. It is keeping you going. It is making this situation incredibly uncomfortable. And I think a lot of songs on this album really have that sense of chaos where everything you're doing is like one speck of things in this huge place. And it's there's just so much going on. And this song really keeps that tension going and keeps you moving, I guess is the best way to put it. There's a danger that's all around. Something is really lurking in the shadows, but it's undoubtedly there at all times. And that's kind of where I get with this song.
Yeah, it with the vocalization in the middle that doesn't really say anything. It's just kind of eerie, and
it's like they're everywhere or something. I think that's
that sounds right. Yeah, but yeah, it's just like kind of echoes in your head and very discordant notes that are playing throughout this entire very tense up and down crescendo and of noise. It's a great track for building that like unease that everything around you is happening, but you're still trying to run away from whatever, cops, NCPD or whatever.
Yeah, when I was listening to the track, I had no idea what the title of the song was, but I'm like, man, you were getting away from something here. So I looked it up. I'm like, what is this song? And then I found it. Oh, Run. Okay. You're definitely being chased by something.
For sure.
One other aspect of the album in general, at least the radio side that I wanted to comment on, was just the diversity of lyrics and nationalities on the artists behind it. I think the usage of such an eclectic group of artists really gives life to this city and the world of Cyberpunk. So this melting pot of people, customs, and attitudes of the city really comes alive. There are tracks that range from, I would say, Latin influence to R&B to industrial and Japanese pop, everything in between. They each give their own substance. And I find that really cool because, again, there is a constant through line, I feel like, where they all were read in on the story and they all wanted to push this narrative of just a dark and dangerous world underneath the facade of corporations and rich people doing their thing. It just really struck me as really cool to have a bunch of different types of music, but all have the same message. And I think that was pretty cool.
Yeah, the Night City itself, it's a melting pot but in a weird way, it's even more of the lines between people are drawn, mostly by corporations, but also by some non-corporate entities like the Voodoo Boys. There's a very
gang oriented.
They're like a gang that's all about net running. But then there's the Arasaka Corporation, which is one of the main corps that is in Night City, which is the Japanese, basically the Japanese military. And Militech is basically the United States military. So you have there's like the 6th Street gang, which are a bunch of yokel Yankee patriots. You have all the Japanese gangs that are in the downtown area. Like they're all they're present, and that part of what you said about the radio is that all of these sounds are there. But in the game, it's not like they're melded together, except in the underworld. Yeah, where you live, you meet all these people and you interact with all these different groups. So it helps to have these songs that are all pieces of those cultures, kind of playing throughout the entire game that help you kind of center yourself as a character in all these, you are the melting pot. Maybe Night City isn't like a melting pot, more of a divided food tray, but you are the melting pot because you're the one dealing with all the different cultures.
Absolutely. That was an awesome metaphor, by the way. You are a divided food tray, but you're taking parts from all of them.
Exactly. Yeah, you gobble them up.
You gobble them up.
But I think I mentioned them before, but Run the Jewels, they had a whole music video, and I love Run the Jewels, and their song for this, No Save Point, is no exception. It's just a hard-hitting hip hop song. It's extremely Run the Jewels. The music video is great. It really brings you into the world of Cyberpunk, and it's just it helps bring a more they understand the world of Night City more than a lot of artists, I would think, because that's kind of how they deal with their tracks outside of this game. How they write tracks for their normal music, their normal albums. Yeah, it's very much a similar vibe. It's lighting up the injustices and shining a light on what is wrong with the system around you, but trying to also live within that system and twist it and bend it to your own use, to your own profit. If you can't beat them, join them kind of mentality. But also trying to point out why it's awful. So it's a great track. I love Killer Mike and LP. They're one of my favorite rap duos of all time. So
I'll have to check them out outside of this.
The credits are for the crime of the century. Morality's only a memory when belly's empty. Swine get they high mind, focus on taking mine. Get in line, swine. You won't deny me my piece of pie. Any fucker in this broke future that they design don't comply. I'll supply a deletion. The end is nigh.
I used to pray to God, but I think he took a vacation. Cause now the state of Cali is...
Well, it definitely is a lengthy listen in general. I think I showed you the YouTube video I was listening to. It was over 5 hours. So I had to do it in sessions, but I don't have that much free time in one day. I will say that while this type of soundtrack, at least the radio side, isn't my typical go-to, it was definitely a fun listen and an interesting listen. It really informed me on some different styles I haven't really delved into in my personal life. And while I still may not come back to those styles outside of this album, I think it was an interesting experiment for me personally.
Yeah.
What I cannot argue after listening to this is that it really is a cohesive and striking listen. And every artist adds something to the soundtrack, whether it be those heart-pounding, tense electronic songs or heavy, dirty guitar instrumentals or even those stealthy, subdued title track of Night City. Each song really feels like it has its place.
I would be really curious to know how much these artists were given instructions or descriptions about the world before they potentially wrote songs for this album, because it's just insane that so many artists from so many different backgrounds can produce those radio discs that feel fairly cohesive for what they are. I would really be curious to see if those three composers, they put out, if you want to be a part of Cyberpunk, you need to do, this is what the world is, and this is the world you're composing for. So, go.
Yeah, I would imagine with a company like CD Projekt Red that they probably had lengthy discussions with each artist, or had a packet of information that they gave each one of them. Right. This is the vibe we're going for, so do your best.
Yeah.
But I would say it succeeded, and
I think so.
The world is definitely much fuller because of that.
Yeah, the soundtrack, be it the game soundtrack or the radio discs that you can listen to, they all add that same. They add to the theme and the theater of the movie that you're playing in, and it wouldn't be the same without it. And for a game that had kind of a rocky start, it has turned out to be one of the best games of its type ever. I think it's well deserved.
Yeah, I mean, we touched on it last week, or I think maybe it was Baldur's Gate 3, where we inevitably we're going to talk about this after that discussion of the rocky start that this game got, and ironically, evil corporations, making terrible decisions. Yeah, I'm very happy for those people who have worked and poured their heart into this game and soundtrack, that it's finally coming around to being that product everyone dreamed it would be. So I'm very thankful for that, despite the negative start it got. It's they're righting the ship, and that's all that matters. So, yeah, as for a review, I think I would personally give this an 8 out of 10 dildos. being as objective as I can be. I listened to this 5-hour roller coaster. There are tracks I can do without, but it's not like a terribly divisive or derivative thing. I'm not trying to take anything away from it. I would say, will I come back to the radio side of this? There are tracks I want to have, and I'll probably purchase.
You'll cut them out and add to your
Yeah, absolutely.
Your mix.
I don't know that I could come back to that as a 5-hour listen, because it's hard to look at it as a whole when you have to chop it up, Yeah. So yeah, I would say 8 out of 10 dildos for me.
I think for me, maybe the music is a bit more to my style, but I think it had to be. It's a 9 out of 10. Blades that come out of your forearms and then like go into the guy's head out of 10 for me. It's just an excellent. Just the theme of the entire album is so well coordinated with the theme of the game. It's tough to separate the game from the soundtrack and the soundtrack from the game. But they go so well together. It just adds that extra spice to a game that already is so well written and so well done. So yeah.
Very, very cohesive product and very immersive. I can't say anything negative about how it strikes you and how it creates Cyberpunk 2077 in Night City. Even if the music's not your style or not my style, you can't argue that the product is much better because of all of it. So props to everyone who worked on this. This is amazing.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not sure if you can buy the album. I know there was a limited release when I think the game came out, or at least afterwards there was a vinyl release. But I think from what I've seen, it's out of stock, so you might have to go to third-party networks to get it. Hopefully there'll be more reruns of it, and they'll release it. But for now, you can listen to it on Spotify. I don't know if it's on iTunes. Yeah, it's on iTunes. So, yeah, the original score is on iTunes as well. So, yeah, pick it up, listen to it.
Enjoy it.
For your Cyberpunk Red role-playing game. Use it as your background music. And, yeah.
Cool. Well, John, I believe that is the episode. So if you would like to say goodbye, please do so.
I'll see you on the Black Wall.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and subscribe on your podcast app of choice. Also, check out Magus Media's other podcast, This Is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast for complete episode breakdowns, insightful banter, and inane babble. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Well, hello there, Internet people. My name is Josh, and I am one of the hosts of the Nastagram RPG podcast. We're an actual play podcast, and we're good. And why are we good? Well, let's let the other host tell you. Dan.
Hey, everyone. If you like authentic, real-world sound effects, our lasers go pew-pew.
I love it. Matt.
Skip me. Coming back to Matt.
Ryan.
Okay, so after 2 decades of trying, we finally mastered the 3.5 grapple.
We're not doing that.
Never mind.
Try again.
Scratch that.
Check it out. Look it up.
John.
If you're looking for a RPG podcast that plays a whole hell of a lot of games, you like to spice the life.
Spice it up.
Spice it up.
Matt, you ready?
Yeah, I think I'm ready. If you enjoy bad accents and overacting, you'll enjoy our podcast.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
And Jake, bring us home.
I like to just say we didn't just throw a phone on the table and hit record. Like, Josh does a damn good job with the editing. And
Facts.
if you care about that, you will not be disappointed.
That's right. We spent a bunch of money that we don't make on the
Yeah,
podcast.
100%.
So check us out, Nastagram RPG Podcast. You can find us on all the goddamn podcast apps, and we'll see you there.
That's nasty.